Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right. So we're going to jump straight in so that we can make the best use of our time today. My name is Jelani Watson. I'm the Education and Outreach Officer here at Jazz FM 91. Um, okay. Yeah, I'm the Education and Outreach Officer here at Jazz FM 91, and I also host a radio show on Sunday mornings called Take Me to the Water from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. But why we are here today is to talk to Joy Lapse. We are reviving our Where Are They Now series. It is a digital feature that we do to feature and highlight some of the artists that have made their way through our outreach programs here at Jazz FM 91. And Joy Lapse was one of the first artists that we featured in our Discover Women in Jazz series back in 2021. So I do want to welcome everyone that joins into the chat for today. We have our digital content specialist, John Saba Jabi, who is in the chat to moderate. So if you have any comments, any questions, please post them, and we will have some time for Joy to answer them later on in the live. So before I invite Joy to jump on with us, I do want to give a little bit of an intro. So, Joy Lapse is an internationally lauded artist, speaker, educator, and creative consultant who activates spaces for community building and creative expression. An award-winning instrumentalist and of Antiguan and Barbudan descent, Joy treats the steel pan as a tool for engagement, anchoring her artistry in a profound, community-centered musical tradition. She aims to amplify women's contributions in every facet of her work, giving nuanced attention to women of the steel band movement. The Toronto native has performed alongside Stuart Goodyear, Roberto Acapinti, Larnell Lewis, and the Toronto Mass Choir, and has recorded with Gramps Morgan, Elmer Ferrer, Jeremy Ledbetter, Johnny Reed, and her musical mentor, pianist and composer Andy Narell. As a leader, Joy has appeared at music festivals and events across Canada and the US and has released 5 independent albums, including How Great Thou Art, Make a Joyful Noise, It's Christmas Time, Morning Sunrise, and Girl in the Yard, and most recently released the Caribbean Christmas Mixtape Volume Number 1 in November of 2024 with her partner and longtime musical collaborator Larnell Lewis. Joy focuses her academic work on facilitating multimodal teaching and learning that centers ensemble as a practice, and her university pedagogy and varied community education programming integrates ensemble teaching to promote individual and collective success. This included her time serving as the artistic and creative director for her multidisciplinary project From Skin to Steel and Beyond, a steel pan focused community arts project launched in Toronto from 2007 to 2019. A lifelong scholar, Joy has received her International Bachelor of Business Administration honors degree from the Schulich School of Business at York University, her Master's of Arts in History, Development, and Composition for steel pan in the Jazz Ensemble at York, and has done internship placements at Calypsociation Steel Band Music School in Paris, the Royal Conservatory of Music, and the Ontario Arts Council Arts Education Foundation. Joy has also earned the 2014 Dr. Alice E. Wilson Award to support graduated studies from the Canadian Federation of University Women, the 2015 Music and Entertainment Award as Top Steel Pan Soloist from Panpro Productions, the 2016 Hutter's Phenomenal Woman Award for Leadership in Community Awards, the 2023 Toronto Arts Foundation Muriel Sharon Award, and the 2024 Pan Arts Network in Pan Award. That was a mouthful. I'm so excited to have Joy with us today. And Joy, There we go. Here it comes. Hey, how's it going?
It's good. It's good. How are you, Delaney?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. I'm
Thanks for
excited
having me.
to hear a little bit more about what you've been up to. Yes. So, let's see what we got here. Um, I, so I had to cut down on your bio a little bit because you've done a
Thank you.
lot. But for those of us who don't know about you, outside of what has already been mentioned, who is Joy Lapse?
Well, I'm a mom, as I have my 5-year-old
Yeah.
who insists on playing here right now. Um, I'm a mom of three, so 7 months, sorry, 8 months, 5 years and 7 years. Um, I would say that I'm a sister, so I have three sisters, um, and an auntie. I'm a new auntie, which is really exciting.
Congratulations.
Um, I would say that if you ask me who I am, I would think about the things that I value. So I think about, she wants to tell me what she's doing. Right now, I'm at a place where wellness and health really matters. So that's a really big thing for me. I'm an advocate for that. And I I think that I'm a little bit disruptive when it comes to some of the places I go into, but I think it's important.
Beautiful. Awesome. So, I do want to jump straight into some questions for you, if that's all right. The first one is, I guess, a little bit of a loaded question for a musician. And that is why music? What pushed you down this path towards a career in music?
Well, I think it was something that I didn't decide. I think that through different experiences, I feel like I was shown that this was the thing I was supposed to do. My internet, my undergrad is actually in international business, and I didn't think that I could do much with the steel pan. And when I say do much, I mean I didn't think I could pursue it as something professional. I think at the time I didn't see as many people in the space doing it. And what happened was that I went to I went to school for business and I hated it. I loathed it. Like I didn't like it at all. And so, and I wasn't at an easy school. So, but every Thursday I would take, I had this like West African drumming class with Kwasi Donyo. And then at the end of our year, I think it was the first year at York, I we had this like this like music, it was like international music festival
Yeah,
where
yeah,
the
yeah.
different people would, different ensembles would perform. And in comes the Escola de Samba, led by Rick Lazar. And I was like, I want to do that. Like whatever that is, I I'm that,
Yeah.
right? So I joined that, and the next year I'm back, I'm back in my business classes, but on Thursdays I'm in this Escola de Samba class and I'm playing the tamborim, if anybody is familiar. And then after my Escola de Samba class, and I'm dancing around the class because I'm very happy. Like I'm happy that the week of economics is done and accounting and international organizational behavior. I'm just glad they're all done. So I'm dancing around the class playing this thing. And then after that, I would go to a piano lesson with this piano player named Raymond George. And that was like the happiest day of the week for me. And so I was like, this is it. And then because I was so happy in the class, Rick Lazar, if you know Rick, he's a really interesting guy. He's just like, hey, you know, why don't you come downtown and teach some of the students that in our program some moves? And I can dance, but I'm not a dancer. So he was, and the thing is, like, it was because I was so happy about being in the space that, like, and the tamborim is small. Like, and if you're familiar with the different instruments in the Brazilian ensemble, the tamborim is among the lightest, right?
Wow.
So you can move, and compared to some of the big sordos and stuff like that. So anyway, I go downtown and I meet these incredible women that are working at this music program, and they're using Brazilian um, drumming as a means of community engagement, personal development, and I had obviously been playing pen at the time, but I feel like it was in those moments that I started to see the connection of the samba school and the panyard. And then because I was playing and performing, I had teachers that would say, I did a baby shower playing, and they'd be like, "Can you come to my school
Yeah.
and teach my kids about this?" You know? And then one time, there was a couple moments, two moments I think are really, really like, important. I had this first record, so I started playing steel pan in church, and I played in a steel band, the Nativity Steel Angels, and I started to play gospel music. And my dad kind of, he was in music, he was a DJ. He did a lot of work with Eddie Bullen. He'd hire Eddie Bullen as his musical director. So my dad kind of like dragged me down to Eddie. He's like, "You're making a CD," you know, like I don't even know what I'm doing. And so I make the CD, and it's just very relaxed, like meditative, like hymns. And I get this message on Facebook, and this guy messages me, and he's like, "I owe you $20." I'm like, "What? For what?" Right? Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. "I owe you $20." I'm like, "For what?" "Well, I had a burnt copy of your CD, and it was the only thing that my dad would listen to on his deathbed, like the only thing, and we want to have a copy for our family." Then I had another person tell me something similar. They come to, "Oh, can I come? I want to buy 10 CDs." I'm like, "Why?" Because I want to buy 10 of your Christmas CDs because this is all my dad would listen to. And, or people would call me and say, "This is the only way I would put their baby to sleep." And obviously that's a little bit different than what I'm doing now,
Yeah.
but I just knew that there was a calling for me, like in the music space.
Yeah.
And I also felt like I hated business. And my dad was the coolest person in the world because he would drive me. He'd like speed down the road if I was late to get to the go bus to take me so I could get to his work. And he'd take me, but he'd be like, "I don't know why you're doing this, but okay, I'll take you." Right? And it's very, and if you understand what it means to be a first generation Afro Caribbean parent in Canada, North America, it's not typical that a parent from there who will tell you, "Why are you going to business school? Like, why are you getting a 60 degree?" But anyhow, those are some of the key moments I think that, like that, full out. Do I show the people what you're doing, Kaya? Just show them. So show them your toy. Come.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
cool.
Okay, I need you to be quiet, okay? So that's a toy. It's a loud toy. You can take it upstairs. Okay? Anyhow, there were kind of like those moments. And so it was almost just like, do I is it even about me? Like, and I think in times there's different times in life when you're like, it's not really about what I want to do. It's about what I'm really called to do.
Yeah.
And when it came to the children, I found so much joy in using music as a means of community engagement, as a means of um, allowing students and children and youth to feel a sense of success. Because I would go into spaces where, even today, because I've probably taught like 300 kids
Hmm.
today, and it's very common that I'll teach a class. "Oh, they're the ones with all the behaviors," and they were just so engaged. And so for me, I think that there's so many. I know a lot of musicians, and I'm the kind of person that did well in school, but I know a lot of my musician friends that they didn't do well in the traditional settings because it wasn't made for them,
Yeah.
and they just grew up. How do you spend 30 hours a week being told that you're not good, or that you're not smart enough, or that you're a C student? So I found a lot of joy in having opportunities to go into schools or to be in programs and to have children experience success and then take that feeling to others. So really, I kind of didn't really have a choice.
Well, what's funny about that? So I've
Hmm.
been at Jazz FM for 3.5 years, going on 4 years now.
Hmm.
I've been education outreach officer for the past two and a half. My memory's a little bit shaky. But every time we talk to artists that have been through the programs and we sort of ask these questions, that's usually the response. I didn't have a choice. It was kind of calling on my life, and it's beautiful to hear that. And sometimes people who are interested in music also need to hear that as well. So I do want to fast forward to 2021. So the pandemic happened. Um, and I was not here yet, but we called you and invited you to be a part of the inaugural season of Discover Woman in Jazz. What was happening in your world around that time?
2021, it, so I, at that point, I think, our second, she was like maybe 2 at the time. She was born 2019. Margie would have been, sorry, our first son was born in 2017, so he's like 4 at this point. And then it's like we're doing the pandemic and kind of reintegrating
Mhm.
with a medically fragile child, with a second child, we just moved. So we used to live in Toronto and then we moved out to Durham, and just adjusting to the lack of services, especially the nursing services out here. But at the same time, I felt like I was shifting, and like all of the things that my children needed and our family needed, it stretched me to a place that I needed to go to. And that was moving from going, before I had my son, I would be out teaching, playing, teaching, playing, teaching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was working with because of my business side, I was working with a consultant remotely, it was a great thing, but it was nonstop. And what, when the pandemic happened and our son, who had different nurses, we had to cut off some nurses because he couldn't be with a nurse that was working in the hospital. You know, when they were looking at like how the virus could spread. And so I had to move from being in, so they were reintegrating, but I couldn't go.
Mhm.
I couldn't risk going into a classroom. So what I was doing all along was I was always doing consulting work, or always helping to build programs or revive programs or reinvigorate programs. But this time I had to do it like
Excellent.
from the sideline,
Yeah.
from the, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? From alive. And I think for a lot of, I think at least for me, the one thing for me that I benefited from the pandemic was that people start to think about accessibility. So I always had to think about where I took my child.
Mhm.
And although I could bring him to like a show or what have you, I feel like there's a lot of things that, you know, men and women have to think about that a lot of people didn't have to think about. So I could do things like
Mhm.
this. And so there's some things that opened up. I was finishing a record. I was finishing Girl in the Yard. And it was a good time. Like, it was a good time
Yeah.
to have the opportunity.
Awesome. And so over the past few years, you've been a frequent flyer to Jazz FM concerts. How did that specific concert impact you?
First of all, it was really, so any opportunity to play is like life giving.
Yeah.
So and if you're a musician in the chat, or if you're able to be around live music, any opportunity is amazing. It was really great to have the opportunity to be heard across the country. I feel like it started to open the door for the promotion for the next record. And then to be with Celine, to have a mentor to work with, like, Celine's really an incredible person.
Yeah.
And I think that it's always nice to be the first to see how something goes, you know what I mean? But I would say that it was really impactful.
Beautiful. And so since 2021, what has your relationship been like with the station?
Okay, so we've done, we actually, 2021, it's so funny, there's so many things that happened. They asked us to produce a Christmas show.
Yes.
So Larnell and I, my partner, for those of you that don't know, hi Yoshi, my aunt in the chat. We actually produced or put together this Christmas program that was kind of like what it was. It was an interpretation of being first generation Afro-Caribbean youth, but like born to first generation, like being in Canada. What did that mean? What did that look like? And so that was a really important project, and I'm glad that it was Danny who came. I think Danny came to us and asked us.
Yeah.
And Danny, like, when you ask about the station, like, there's so many people, but I feel like a lot of our connections are to Danny. So whether she's asking us, like, can you do like a can you make a call, what's the word? You know, when you like shout out for like International Jazz Day, speak to this, you know? And so I think over time we've just continued to build a really nice relationship. And I think we've been producing a international drumming festival. Jazz FM is one of the partners that the Rose brand typically reaches out to
Hmm.
for promotion. Um, because I think it's a nice connection, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's necessary, especially because there's sometimes a disconnect between Afro-Caribbean music
Hmm.
and and
Yep.
jazz, calypso and jazz. You know, it's sometimes in the city it can feel like this is over here, this is over here,
Hmm.
you know. And I think that we have an opportunity to bridge the two, to bring new audiences to what some might consider more traditional jazz, and
Right.
to bring audiences that have been followers of the station to something different, like and the stuff that we do.
Yeah. Awesome. So I do want to be mindful of our time today. So I'm gonna
Hmm.
jump to asking you about anything new that's coming up for you. Any exciting new things? I know there was something that I did not include in your bio purposely because I wanted to leave the floor open
See?
for you to introduce it.
Yeah, so I have a couple of projects going on. I actually played at Mondial. For those of you who don't know, it's like a showcase. So I won the Prix de la Maison de Culture, which affords you this opportunity to play in these beautiful venues around Montreal. So I have about 5 shows around Montreal. So if you're in Montreal, it's a really cool concept. The shows are free to the community,
Yeah.
and they try to prioritize people that are in that local space. That's why there's kind of so many in the city. As a result of that, uh, what else am I doing? I'm supposed to go to Sheboygan, went to Wheatland, went to a couple
Hmm.
different festivals between like Mondial and Folk Alliance. So just shows coming up. I'm going to Trinidad in like 2 weeks to play their Jazz on the Green. So a lot of different shows. I'm also working on a project to map the Canadian steel pan industry, like across Canada. Oftentimes people come to me like every day. I need somebody to do this. I want to
Hmm.
start but it's often steel pan related. So what I do is what I'm looking at doing is helping the steel pan industry to become more findable, so that whether it's a school, I have boards that are saying, Joy, can you just sell everything to us? I'm like, no. you sell, can you just sell everything that has to do with steel pan to us? No, there are other people who do this. We just need to, there's some things that need to happen in terms of like their promotional material, their availability to, to become vendors,
Hmm.
to kind of jump through those hurdles. So I'm going to do that, and it's going to culminate. We're going to have a conference in the summer in collaboration with Sound Life Scarborough. So I've been doing some work with Sound Life Scarborough, and they're this fantastic part of U of T that they're looking at community music making, or music making as a lifelong thing, and not I'm a professional musician, so I make music
Hmm.
and you listen. It's like the idea of that idea. So we've helped them to develop a steel pan program, but we're going to continue and work together on that project. Um, I'm working on another record called Patience, Faith, Gratitude right now, and about this like a journey to and through motherhood that's been amazing at times, but tumultuous at times. So those are some of the things that I'm working on.
And that's all happening this year.
I would say that like, yeah. Oh my gosh, I have to mention this. Larnell won a Juno. He didn't win a Juno. He got nominated for a Juno.
Yep.
Let me just watch my words. He got nominated for a Juno. He's having a Juno. We're having an annual, celebration since the album release. That's tomorrow, but it's kind of sold out.
Oh,
So I'll be playing that tomorrow. Um, yeah. So it's a different things, but not everything is going to be finished. So even that mapping project, like
gotcha.
we're going to start the mapping project. We're going to share like put it out on a platform,
Mhm.
share it, but it's a developing project. The
Gotcha.
record is ever evolving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Travel is ever evolving.
Fair enough. Awesome. So last question from me, and then we have a couple questions for you from the chat. Um, what would be something that you would tell your younger self?
Hmm. The biggest thing I think I would tell myself that I've come to know now as an adult in the music space, in the education space, in the art space, is that there are different ways of like knowing and being, right? So one of the biggest reasons why I didn't think I could pursue steel pan, I didn't think it was a thing because I started to learn by rote. And so I assumed that because it wasn't notation, it wasn't theory done, in a specific way and in a more like Eurocentric way, I just assumed that, well, there's nothing to be had there. And so, um, and so for me, that kind of, and what I take also when you look at steel pan history, when you look at the depths of it, you really have to start to be really critical in your
Mm-hmm.
thinking. And I would say that I wish that my younger self was more critical in my thinking. And not to be rude or disrespectful, but there's some authority figures that I thought I just had to listen to because they were authority figures. And so that has definitely changed. I can be respectfully critical of what you're
Yeah.
saying. I can engage in a thoughtful conversation. I can disagree with you,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that I I really appreciate my upbringing. I come from like a really strong, strict Caribbean upbringing, but I think that and I respect my parents, but I think that I wish that I sometimes taken away or kind of backed off on that. Well, just because they're an elder, it means that they know what they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about, and that's what I tell them. So the young people in the chat, or the new people, the new musicians, I would just say that like you really have to critically consider the status quo, and you have to critically think all the
Mm-hmm.
time. That's the one thing that if you ask Learn now, it's my pet peeve when people don't think critically. Adults,
Yep.
not young people.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it would be to just, it's okay. It's okay to question something.
yeah. Hmm. Beautiful. Okay, so I got two questions for you from the chat.
Mhm.
So the first one is from Sweetie B Sweets.
Mhm.
Do you still teach steel pan?
I do. So I do teach steel pan, not in the traditional form. Like I used to have like lessons. I didn't mention this, but I had the coolest parents in the world, and they let me turn their living room into a pan yard,
No
and I used
way.
to teach lessons in like how most, again, this is talking about they're really like they're traditional and strict,
Yeah.
but you know how most a lot of not most a lot of Korean parents have a nice chair with plastic on it, a buffet.
Yep.
You don't
Yep.
eat
Yep.
there. So yeah, I literally moved into that room with like pans everywhere and I taught. So to answer your question, not in that way. I don't still have private
Hmm.
students, but what I do is I work collaboratively. I work with the TDSB, I work with the York Region School Board, the Peel School Board, and what I do is I'll go into a school and help them to revive a steel pan program, to reinvigorate a program. Maybe they had a great program 15 years ago, and the personnel or the teachers changed,
Hmm.
and now the steel pans are dusty, some are untuned, or they're missing some, they've walked
Yeah.
away. I'll help them to kind of like get it back, get it going. I'll go and do workshops. So like today I was in a school, do workshops. We worked with the Wire DSB. We have two sets of steel pans that are traveling around the board, and schools can get them for 30 days. So I'll
Mm.
go and work with the teacher to kind of get them going.
Yeah.
But it's as at this stage of my life, I can't do it all the
Hmm.
time, but I am thinking of bringing back pop-up steel pan
Okay.
lessons.
Hey, we'll
just
have
for the
to.
just for the heck of being able to make
Yeah, yeah,
music
yeah.
together.
We'll have to stay tuned for that. Awesome.
Mhm.
Uh,
And I am at U of T on Thursdays.
gotcha.
I've been there, and it's an open class. It's open
Open to the public.
to community.
Ah,
Yeah, I
okay.
teach that collaboratively with Rasheen Wright.
There we
Yeah,
go. Ah,
yeah.
Rashane. Awesome. And then another question from Sweetie B Sweets. Are
Uh,
your records on Spotify?
yes, everything's on Spotify.
Beautiful.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Fair enough.
But if
Um,
you're a vinyl lover, we have vinyl.
awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. I might need to get some myself. And then I got one more question here. Who are the artists that you're listening to, and who are you inspired by right now?
Oh, okay. I There's a lot of different ones. When I'm thinking about like my meditative time, um, I might listen to like a Maverick City. Um, my gosh, just different like worship bands like that.
Hmm.
If I am if I'm exercising, I'm actually been listening to. I worked on this record called "Living, Loving, Learning" by this artist named Grace Gigi,
Hmm.
and the album kind of snuck out not too long ago, but it's this really amazing record that Andrew Stewart produced. So I kind of listen depending on what am I doing.
Yeah.
So when I'm working out, it's like high energy. It could go any way from soca to high energy gospel to just a lot of different things.
Hmm.
Um, and then I'm really like I am though I'm a slow jams and R&B, like old school slow jams R&B are really my thing. I definitely am trying to like just listen to different playlists, listen to a lot of
Yeah.
Amapiano, a lot of Afro beats because I'm like writing and I have some remixes. I forgot to tell you, I have some remixes coming
Oh,
up.
awesome.
Some like Afrobeat remixes coming up. Um, that's the other
Yeah.
thing that it all really all depends on like what does my heart rate need to do, and then I choose. It's such a what is the tempo of my heart rate need to be right now for the. But I'm a diehard like
Yeah.
R&B
Yeah.
slow jam girl. I just
Awesome.
if it ain't broke,
Don't fix it.
you know. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so before I let you go, where can or how can people stay connected with you and keep up to date on what you're doing?
So at Joy Lapse Music, you'll see it on the screen. So that's my Instagram. That you'll find me Joy Lapse Music on Facebook, Joy Lapse Music on YouTube, and then joylapse.com is my website. Not always updated, but I'm trying. I feel like Instagram is a good place. Like I'll typically post things
Yeah.
there, but I have an events page on my website.
Awesome. Well, with
Yeah.
that, I want to say thank you, Joy, for your time. Thank you for sharing a little bit of your story with us today.
Thank you, Jelani. Thanks for having me.
Of
Thanks,
course.
John
Yeah.
Saba.
And a quick thank you to the Pat and Tony Adams Freedom Fund for the Arts, who supports our Discover Women in Jazz concert series. And if you want to check out Joy's concert from 2021, it is still up on our YouTube channel. So feel free to.
Can I say this,
Yeah.
Jelani? I know you're the closer, but I also would say that it's really important. One of the things that I like about Jazz FM is that there I feel like there's an openness, like a curatorial openness. So if you know amazing women in jazz, and not just like what you think about as straight ahead jazz, just they're improvising, they're doing things, they're creating, they're performing. Please, please, please tell people like Jelani, email the
Yes.
station, tell them about them, or send me a message. I'll tell them. They've definitely been really open and wanting to kind of reach and put people on that don't have the platform. So, and I appreciate that opportunity. And I think a lot of other women could benefit from
Beautiful. And thank you for including that. And that reminds me that I should
it.
also thank our wonderful listeners and our wonderful donors who make everything that we do possible. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I want to wish you all a great evening. If you are not busy right now, you should probably tune in to Dinner Jazz, hosted by John Devonish, on the radio or on our website. Thank you once again, Joy.
Thanks, Melanie. Thanks, John
All right,
Saba.
take care.